Hello, and welcome to the Realigned Journey, the unfiltered guide to self-discovery and reconnection. I'm Sierra Sambrowski, your host, and together we'll investigate and discover the ways we have lost touch with our true selves and explore ways we can reconnect to it. This season, I'm starting each episode by asking my guest a question. What moment or event was pivotal in changing the way you saw yourself and or your life? This week I have with me Tania Ortiz Welch. Tania is a teacher, writer, author of Soul Notes and Musings Practice Deck, somatic practitioner, and passionately curious human with a deep dedication to well-being and transformation. With a foundation in psychology, multiple certifications in trauma informed somatics, and a deep commitment to personal exploration, Tania has cultivated a profound understanding of what it means to be fully human, embracing both our inherent wisdom and our wounds. Driven by a passion for fostering authentic connections, Tania invites others to reconnect with their most authentic self and align with their soul's deepest desires. Her work inspires a compassionate journey of self understanding, growth, and healing, reminding us that transformation begins with self awareness, curiosity, and self compassion. Hi, Tanya. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, Sierra. I'm so grateful that you invited me. So thank you.
Yeah. So, anybody that has listened to my other episodes can tell probably just from the introduction that I just read about you exactly why I asked you to be on here because all of that contains all of the things that I believe in, that I believe that we can promote and empower in each other and just bring greater understanding. So, I'm very excited for whatever our conversation ends up being and wherever it leads us today.
No, that sounds great. And just the title of your podcast, when you asked me, I didn't know the title of your podcast at the time. And as soon as I saw it, I didn't even need to read anything else. I was like, oh yeah. So it was a yes.
Yes, awesome, awesome. So this is the way we kick it off. Tell and I know understand many people have multiple and maybe we'll get to some other pivotal points for you, but when I ask the question, what is the first moment or experience that really pops into your awareness right now about something that just shifted and changed everything in your total direction and outlook?
So this one's very easy for me. So September 29th, 2003, at about 4:30 something in the morning, I had state troopers knock on my door and tell me that my husband had been killed in a car accident.
Mm,
And so in that moment, I always describe it as there's, pre that moment and then there's post.
mm-hmm,
So after about, I don't know, I would say it was that moment where everything shifted for me. And although it took me some time to actually begin to glean, like, okay, what what am I going to do differently? How am I going to, uh, how am I going to use what happened, which was horrific, into something that can actually um, inspire something new in my life? And so in that moment, it was this clear or clarity around the fact that I kind of felt like I was at a crossroads.
mm-hmm,
I could either go one way and just go down that road of despair, or I can go down this other road and really lean into like what brings me joy,
mm-hmm,
what lights me up, right? Like life is so short. So how am I going to use this, traumatic event that happened in my life to actually foster like this greater resilience and taking that pain and turning it into something that would not only serve me and my son, I had an 18-month at the time,
mm,
but everyone else that came into, into my life. So that for sure was the most, yeah, that was the most transformational moment for me because from that time on, I never saw anything the same.
Mm,
As, um, it was a moment that also it really cultivated so much courage for me in my life because before that, there were a lot of things that I probably wouldn't have pursued because of a lot of fears and anxieties. And then after John died, it was almost like, what do I have to lose? Right? Like, again, it's so cliche. Life is too short.
yeah.
But I remember there was this quote, and it's something like this: life is too short not to live the life you imagine. And I
Mm,
had that engraved on a bracelet, and I wore that all the time. And so it was a reminder to me that even when I feel afraid, um, what do it anyways and see what happens. So, in short, that was.
yeah. I mean, I, I do work with people in grief in particular. So, I have maybe a better understanding of what that process looks like for people that have experienced something like you did.
Mhm,
What, but for those listening, because I know that this is important, that there is not a timeline as to when you are able to unpack your emotions around everything, around the overwhelm, around the jarring experience that is so drastically different than anything you had, even,
mhm,
whatever time period it was before. So, in your personal journey, in moving from that place of grief and
mhm.
shock and all the other things you must have been going through, when did you start to kind of see this glimmer of how do I make this mean something?
Um, and I'm sure you're well aware, like that first year, you're just going through the motions. And again, I had a young son, so
Mm-hmm.
I had to show up,
Keep
and
going.
I was very aware, or at least I felt like I had to be mom and dad, and I had a great support system with my family, so I wasn't alone in this. But that first year, you're really trying to navigate this new existence,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you had a life that you imagined prior to the death, and then in an instant, it's taken away. And so now you're trying to imagine, what does this new life look like, feel like. So that first year was probably the hardest.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say it probably took me about 3 years
Mm-hmm.
before I felt like um, it was okay to be joyful again. And it's not that I wasn't joyful before that, but there's a certain level of guilt that I carried.
Mm-hmm.
I got to enjoy watching my son growing up. So there was a certain level of guilt that I carried. And about 3 years afterwards, I remember it was December of 2006,
Uh-huh.
and a girlfriend came to visit from California. And we were sitting talking, and I told her, I said, this is the year that I'm going to find love again. This is the
Mm-hmm.
year that I'm going to do the things that I feel really afraid to do, and I'm just going to do them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and although when I look back, like the 3 years that preceded, there were a lot of things that I look back on, and I'm just like, wow, that younger version of me was so brave, and I love her for her resilience and her capacity to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
But it was that I remember distinctly December 2006, and I just declared that. And 2007 was a year that I found love, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
still in love. I changed jobs, a job that I wasn't passionate about. and didn't allow me the time that I wanted to have with my son. So there was a lot of things that changed in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure it takes however long it takes for each
Yeah,
individual,
sure.
but that 2007 is a clear year that stands out for me.
Mm. Was there some kind of particular catalyst for you right around the end of 2006, do you think? Like an additional catalyst that was like, okay, I am moving forward in a whole new direction now.
Um, I can't really recall like one specific thing, but
Mm-hmm.
I do remember, and I will say this, I remember having lots of conversations with John. However, I would speak to him. And I just knew, um, there was a part of me that really knew that he wanted me to find that joy,
Mm-hmm.
find that he wanted me to go on. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's just he would have never wanted me not to. And even though when you're in that grief, and I was young, I was 32 when he died, you think you're never gonna love again.
Mm-hmm.
That was it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just knew there was a really strong sense of him wanting me to do the things that would bring me and Ty, my son, joy.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it
It
was
was
just
just processing.
yeah, it
It was
really
just
was.
processing. Yeah.
Right. Because like I said, it takes however long it
Mm-hmm.
takes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so
Well, and when I was just listening to you a few minutes ago, I had like all these different questions. I was like, oh, which way do I want to go with this conversation? I
mm-hmm.
will say, for whatever reason, for my own instinct, it feels important to talk about a little bit. What was that experience of finding love again for yourself?
Oh gosh. Um,
I mean, you clearly you vocalized to your friend that you were ready. You felt like you were ready to do that again, and that is a whole process all on its own. I mean, I know people that struggle with that from just ending bad relationships, right?
yeah,
Like, so to traumatically lose your husband who you had, it's not like your relationship had started to dissolve
right.
until you were like halfway out the door or something anyway, right? Like,
Mhm.
so that's a very different experience, but I know people struggle with that about having this piece of them that feels ready or at least curious about what it would be like to be in love romantically again with someone. And then how do you know, like, I'm ready?
Yeah. So I don't know that I was ready.
Mm.
Ever, you just landed on a word that is so important to me. I was curious.
Uh,
I was curious about, um, I was just curious about being able to put myself out there again. And again, I didn't say this earlier, but John and I had been together since we were in high school. So it
oh.
wasn't like I had all this experience, with relationships. So it
Hmm.
was this double whammy of I've been with the same person for pretty much, my
Half your
teenage,
life.
young
Yeah.
adult life.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of knowledge around, relationships or romantic relationships. So there was a lot of fear and a lot of hesitation. And because I had such a profound sense of um, really like embracing all that life has to offer, I thought, you know what? Why not? So I can't say necessarily that I was fully ready, but I was ready enough.
Uh-huh.
And I think, sometimes it's not so black and white, and you have to just embrace like where you're at, with what you have. And at that point, I had enough space and time from when he died to to open myself up to finding, I said love, which was a
Mm-hmm.
big thing,
Mm-hmm.
but I just opened myself up to the possibility of someone coming into my life and Ty's life. And that was, it's tricky when you have a child,
Yeah.
not to get,
Yeah.
into too much about that. So, so yeah, but I think that when you actually open yourself up to the possibility, then things just start to happen. And that's not to say I dated a few people and it didn't feel right for me. And then when I met the person that I'm with now, it was different. I just knew something was different. And so, I often say that John put him in our lives
Mm.
because we've had so many synchronicities. And that could be a whole other podcast.
Yes. I was like, oh, I love that.
Oh my gosh, so many synchronicities, so many where we've actually like lived in the same state at the same time that was not the state where we met. We had familiar
Right.
friends but we never met. So yeah,
It
it
was a
feels,
timing thing.
it
It
was
was
a
like a divine timing thing.
it was a timing thing, and we both really believe that. So we always say it's great we met when we met, because it may not
Yeah.
have been the same had we
Yeah.
met at a different time. But all that to say, I do think, because it kind of relates to even my perspective in the work that I do now, like just having some curiosity and even
Mm.
compassion for yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's a vulnerable place to put yourself in trying to come into a relationship with someone else, particularly when you've been in a relationship with someone prior for such a long time. And so, yeah, it's important to be able to just kind of grant yourself some grace and some compassion during
Yeah.
such a big, time in your life or
Yeah.
decision.
Did you have awareness that you were doing that for yourself? Were you doing that for yourself? Because maybe you're like, oh, at first I definitely wasn't. And then I moved into that. Like at the time, did you have awareness that you were giving yourself grace, that you were being compassionate to yourself, that you were finding a way to love yourself through this and giving yourself love? Like, was this intentional
You know,
for you?
when I look back, I don't think that I had that level of awareness,
Hmm.
right? It's easy for me to speak on it now
Hmm.
and realize, oh, that's what I was doing. But in the moment, probably not. However, I did feel like there was a part of me that showed myself love by allowing myself, like knowing that I deserve to find love again. Like I
Hmm.
wasn't supposed to, go through the rest of my life without that.
Hmm.
In the beginning, I think not that I was punishing myself per se, but again, going back to feeling guilt. It was like a survivor's guilt. And
Hmm.
so,
Sure
how
was.
dare I, bring someone else or even dare to entertain the possibility of someone else?
Mhm.
And then I got to a point where it's just like, yeah, like people deserve to have love in their lives.
Mhm.
And yes, I had so much love and support from my family, but also, yeah, romantic love is a different thing, and I think
Mhm.
it's important.
Mhm.
Um, so to answer your question, I don't think I had this level of awareness, but there was a part of me that did.
Mhm.
Sure.
Yeah. And you also mentioned like you switched jobs around that time. So there was this, excuse me, what I would say almost is like there was some kind of, if not awakening, there was some kind of opening,
Mhm.
self-opening that was happening for you around that time because it wasn't even just looking to go into a romantic relationship again and find that kind of love again in your life. Like I said, you mentioned you also switched jobs and there was some other things that were kind of like, I'm going to do this differently than I've been doing it.
Absolutely. Um, I remember at the time too, as much as it was painful to lose John, there was also this, and it took me a long time to actually admit this
Mm,
to others, but there was also this part of me that was really aware of, wow, I can be and do whatever I wish, right? Like who I was with John um, was one season in my life. And I
mhm,
felt like, yes, after some processing and working through the grief process, I came through with this real clarity around the fact that um, I wanted to really take a look at that person that I was that really me?
mhm,
What I was doing as far as work, was that what I really wanted to do? So I think something happens when you go through such a traumatic experience
mhm,
that you start, at least I can speak for myself. I started to look at all the areas of my life and really asking myself, was I in integrity? Is this what I wanted to do? Because now I had this, it was almost like I had this, like you said, opening to not reinventing myself, but becoming more of myself. And this
mhm.
is, a process that has unfolded since then,
Of course.
all the time.
Right.
Um, but that felt like the very beginning of what has been a long journey for me. And, 2024, I feel was like an acceleration of that. But it feels like it was the beginning of me really starting to look at myself and what were some of the layers I wanted to peel off? What were some of the personas that I no longer felt aligned with? So I'll stop with that. But yeah, there definitely was. It was the beginning of a long transformation for
Mhm,
me. And
mhm.
evolution, I'll continue that to the day I die.
Yeah. It's so
Yeah,
funny to me too, because as I listen to you, you use the same words that I use around things too. But I certainly can relate to that
but
100%.
I'm
Oh, I was going to say we must have had a little glitch there. Um,
I don't know if it's me. Huh,
okay.
I can see you.
Okay, there we go. There we go. Oh, no, we're froze again. Oh, there. I can see you moving. Can you hear me? I say, hold on one sec.
I can hear you.
Okay, you can.
There's like a delay.
Yeah, I was gonna say all of a sudden it was like stop and go. Like you would unfreeze and freeze and unfreeze and freeze.
Hmm.
So, all right. Let's hope maybe we
Watching you breathe.
what is happening? That's so
I don't know.
crazy. Do you think we can un stay okay
Am I
now?
still, you're
Oh,
unfreezing?
there you go. Nope.
Oh, we were just getting into the good bits.
I know. Okay, wait. Maybe it'll clear up now. I don't know what the
Okay,
hell is happening because I have like full full signal and everything, so I don't know what the problem is. What do you think?
I do too. Let's see. Yeah.
I was just saying
Oh,
I got everything closed.
I do too. Make sure to
So
do that.
that's I'm like, I don't know what's happening.
You're okay now.
Okay, you're okay now too, but
Let's just keep going.
all right, let's keep going.
Okay.
Um, I have had such a similar experience where in the moment of something that seemed, I mean, at the time, oftentimes it feels earth-shattering, of also having this, one of my favorite phrases, still small voice. This still small voice that somehow that says to me that this is in some way for my highest good.
Mhm.
And I mean, I haven't had the exact same experience as you have had, but I have had them in ways in which I also felt a lot of guilt about saying that, around being able to say, I know that somehow this is really going to help me in the long run. And it has always been that unshedding of the self that I am not really, the uncovering of the things that I told myself that was not really who I was.
Yes.
Um, if I could allow it, because I've had some situations in life where I was more in a space of allowing that, allowing it to be more of an uncovering. And I've had very honestly times and deep struggles in situations where I have allowed it to, I don't want to say cripple me, but I definitely went into like more of a victim mode kind of place. And why does all this always happen to me? And how come I can't get, da 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 da. Um, and also, same experience where I felt like 2024, while I've had some really big shifts in my life, there was an exponential deepening, I would say, that happened in 2024 for me. I feel that the other ones was kind of like the shattering of the shell of the armor, so there was this huge, like, kind of revealing, but it wasn't necessarily depth. This past year brought such deepening of understanding who I really am, who I am really meant to be, how I am created. Um, and it was unequivocally um, the hardest year of my life in many, many, many areas and different facets. And also, I had the most peace and the deepest sense of centering
Mm.
amidst all of that I've ever had.
Oh yeah. No, yeah, it's funny. I shared with my sister not too long ago. I said, I feel like who I entered in 2025 is like this new person, like
Mm-hmm.
old but new
Mm-hmm.
person.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like 2024, just like you were describing, it was just like an acceleration of this evolution that's been happening, obviously, my whole life. And, I spoke on about like the last couple of decades, how there was this unfolding. And then there was just this clarity. There was this clarity that it was almost like universe, whatever you want to call it, saying to me, um, you need to figure this out. Like, this is the time for you to really, truly not only step into who I am, but really know who I am. And
Mm-hmm.
in the wellness spiritual spaces, I mean, we talk about that all the time,
Mm-hmm.
aligning with your true self, so on and so forth. But this year was an embodiment of that for me,
Mm-hmm.
an integration. And
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have used those words in the past and thought that I understood what it meant. And this year showed me, it didn't just show me, it's like it landed in my body and I was like, oh, this is what embodiment actually means. This is what it means to integrate all of the parts of you so that what remains is fully you. The hero parts, the parts that maybe we had tucked in the, hid in the attic for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And this year there was just the opening to allow it all, to be able to look at it all, allow it all, befriend it all, and not to sound cheesy, but fall in love with myself in a way
Mm-hmm.
that I would have said that I loved myself, and I do, and I did.
Mm-hmm.
But this is different. This is loving all the bits of me. And in that process, it's allowed me to really form a new definition for healing, for me. And there's
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of definitions for healing, but
Mm-hmm.
in simplifying it, it's really a sense of wholeness. And now I have had the experience of, oh, what does that actually mean? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
it's looking at all the parts of ourselves and how do we create, the inner conditions to be able to be with them all and then to really want to hear their stories, particularly the challenging bits,
Mm-hmm.
and then, really bring them into like yourself and just tend to them. And that for me has been the most transformational. It's been the most healing. And when I use the word transformation, it's just that change. It's that real lasting change
Mm-hmm.
that no matter what happens, um, you still bring that whole essence of yourself to the experiences. Um, so I hope that makes sense.
I
Right?
mean, I'm like completely on board. I'm like, this was exactly my internal experience. It
Yeah.
was absolutely the exact same thing. I, I would say that there was this incredibly deep amount of awareness as I moved through the year in situation after situation where I very consciously was, I mean, sometimes 20 times a day would be like, do you choose the old or do you choose a new? Do you choose to do it the way you've done it, or do you choose different? Do you choose to be a different version, or do you choose to repeat the pattern? Like, I mean, it was such a, like I said, deepening of really understanding myself, my own capabilities, my own possibilities, my own power in a true divine sense of the word power and sovereignty. Um, and it was very in my face. It was like, we will keep giving you the space to choose. And you get to choose, which is something that I repeatedly say all the time, right? So it was this really played out year of, for me personally, because like you, I'm in this space
Mhm.
around personal evolution. I, it was like, are you going to practice what you preach?
Absolutely. And again, I would say that I have practiced what I preach for many, many
Hmm.
years,
Hmm.
but life grows us if we allow it to.
Yes.
And again, there was a deepening of my understanding. And in that deepening of my understanding, um, like you just said, I was being asked to show up um, more authentically. And I know
Hmm.
that word is kind of used and thrown around all the time.
Oh, I say that all the time. I'm so glad you say that. I'm like, oh, I'm so sick of
Um,
everybody talking about authentic because there's a lack of depth to that, but that's another conversation.
right. And so again, like it is thrown around all the time. And I will just give, like, for me, it just meant again, that shedding of, first of all, not even just the shedding. First, I had to even know that, like, I had to question and ask myself, like you, is this me? Is this really what I want to be doing? Or am I allowing some external something to kind of shape or influence like the
Mm-hmm.
choices that I'm making? And so it was a lot. And I am a very introspective and reflective person. Anyone that
Mm-hmm.
knows me well will tell you.
Yeah.
But my God, there was a lot of pausing, asking the questions, and then being brave enough, like cultivating enough courage to then say, you know what? That's great for them, but it's not so great for me. That's not what I
Mm-hmm.
want to do. That's not how I want to do it. And for me, it showed up a lot in my work. Like
Mm-hmm.
2024 was, I started 2024 thinking I was going to show up in this space a certain way. And by mid-year, I was already like questioning, like, do I really want to do it this way? Is this what I really want to be talking about? And then come September, it was like a 360 because I knew that's not how I want to do it. I
Mm-hmm.
have to allow the most real part of me to really lead the way. And so I made it a practice of just really tuning into the nudgings. But back to this authenticity, um, yeah, it's just really being able to sit with yourself and really gain clarity around how are we shaped and what has shaped us.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it may have served us at a time, but now in this stage of my life, you know, we grow, we evolve. Um, and I feel like I'm just kind of like, I have this image of like, you know, you're wearing this suit that's zipped up, and like
Mm-hmm.
really this year, like unzipped it and stepped out. And who stepped out was just the truest version of myself. And I know that I will continue to grow and evolve.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. There's just something about this year that gave me such clarity
Mm-hmm.
around who I am at my core.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that one of the greatest acts of self-care and self-love is actually figuring out, like, who am I?
Mm-hmm.
And then how can I move through the world as
Mm-hmm.
that version of myself, which then allows and gives permission to others to do the same. But I just think that that deep self-understanding and then take acting from that you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
creating a U-shaped path and actually walking down your U-shaped path
Mm-hmm.
is just, for me, the most important thing. And you know, it takes time. It takes time to get to this place. You know, I have a 20,
For sure.
soon 23-year-old son, and you know, we have these conversations. And I know that it's a journey, right? In your 20s, you're just figuring, you're just in that discovering phase. So I'm mentioning that because I'm also well aware, and I try to be um, considerate that people are in different stages of their journeys, of their evolution, of their
Of course.
level of consciousness. So when I say, oh, just, you know, find out who you are and then walk that, it's not so easy and
It's
it's
not
not
that
so
easy.
satisfying. And it takes, you know, it takes what it takes. However, I guess to kind of like sum that up, I think it's worth pursuing that
Mm.
that journey of deep self-understanding with a lot of compassion, a lot of self-kindness, and a big, huge dollops of curiosity.
Mm. Yeah. I think, it's funny because I was thinking about at the beginning of our conversation when you talked about finding love again, it like popped into my brain like, oh, I I should ask her, what about this whole sort of cliche that you have to learn to find love for yourself in order to be, in woo-woo terms, like a vibrational match to, that's what your romantic partnership is. It's a vibrational match to
Mhm.
wherever your level of self-love is. So I was going to ask you then, and then as we've progressed through the conversation, we're talking about it now. I know that as much as there was a part of me that kind of dismissed that as woo-woo fluff bullshit around that whole thing, that it also became more apparent than ever to me this year that not from a romantic standpoint, but just from me being able to get to the purity of who I am by nature, by divine nature,
Mhm.
that it required me to love myself in a very different way than honestly I did not even fully realize was capable. Um,
Mhm.
there is a deeper, my experience, there is a deeper sense of tenderness around that self-love that was never as fully an aspect as it feels right now.
Absolutely.
And I'm so grateful for that because it feels amazing. And I know that that bursts so much new in all kinds of internal and external ways. But yeah, t talk to me about your evolution in your self-love. Because like I said, it went through this place of, for me personally, being able to love myself from a wounded place, right? Through like therapy and that kind of thing, like being able to give myself some space, compassion, let myself off the hook, stop judging and criticizing. Like it's been this, even the self-love piece has been its own evolution. And then it moved into like being able to be proud of myself and have
Mhm.
feeling of possibility and belief and trust in myself, right? Like it's been this, but there's a tenderness that I found now that seems like it's been the critical piece.
I love that you use that word tenderness, because that, yes, like I absolutely resonate with that word. And that's a word that I use so often now. And it's not only just tenderness with myself, but moments in my life, or experiences that also make my heart tender.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, like when you use the word tenderness, I think that it's so important that we're able to, first of all, understand what that means for us. Your
Mm-hmm.
tenderness may be different than
Mm-hmm.
mine,
Mm-hmm.
but it gives me this image of, like let's just think of that, like a nurturing presence in your life, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's whomever it is,
Mm-hmm.
caregiver, and you're feeling, there's something that has happened and you're feeling afraid or you're feeling sad, and that tender caregiver comes over and just embraces you and holds you and doesn't try to make you necessarily feel better, isn't trying to give you some, words to, um, bring some positivity. It's
Mm-hmm.
just holding space and holding you and just allowing you to go through your experience. And in my in my journey to really understanding what self-love means, and it was, how do I hold myself? How do I hold all the parts of me? Um, and just be that kind, compassionate witness without trying to make myself feel better, without trying to, do the meditation or say the mantra that is going to try
Mm-hmm.
because I did that for so, so long. I didn't realize that's what I was
Mm-hmm.
doing, but I didn't really allow myself oftentimes to feel the depths of my feelings,
Mm-hmm.
bad. Um, and in my evolution towards like self-love, that has been a big part of it. It's again inviting that tenderness in and being able to provide that for myself, not needing it from someone else. And yes, we do,
Mm-hmm.
but teaching myself, like, where wasn't I? Where wasn't I offering myself a level of tenderness? Or where wasn't I offering myself just this kind, compassionate witness to myself?
Mm-hmm.
And that has been a big part of being able to truly love myself in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't require anything but me just getting curious about, what I'm feeling, what I'm going through, whatever it might be,
Mm-hmm.
and just being there
Mm-hmm.
for myself, like just holding the space. And that was a little different for me because
Mm-hmm.
I was for a lot of my adult life, I did bypass a lot of emotions and always trying to, make myself feel better. And in that, you kind of deny parts of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like self-love doesn't deny. I feel
Absolutely.
like if you love someone else and truly love them, you love all of them. And so I had to learn how to do that for myself. I didn't realize for a long time I wasn't doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I would have told you, of course, I love myself, but it took a lot of just a lot of self-reflection um, to realize, wow, I was only loving like the parts that are really easy to
Mm.
love.
Mm.
Um, yeah. So tenderness, I love that you use that because it requires a great deal of tenderness to love all of ourselves, all the
Yeah.
parts.
Yeah. Tell me, because I'm always a how person, or tell those that are listening,
Mhm.
what do you think is one of the most important sort of practices? Now, with caveat to everybody listening, I want to say Tanya, you just talked about, I know I go through this where I have my own kind of like daily routine and integration of rituals and prayer and meditation and chanting and whatever, whatever. And also, you must give yourself flexibility to allow it to be let go of, to be put down and picked back up. Like, don't make this like a rigid, disciplined practice. But what are some things? Because I know for me personally, I definitely had an awareness of um, that there was a deepening of self-love needed there for me. I
Mhm.
didn't know how it was going to show up or how I was going to get to it, but I did have an awareness around it. And so I imagine if there are other people that are listening that have an awareness around they're at this space, or maybe they just want that for themselves going into the new year. What are some sort of tools or practices or guidance that you would offer to somebody listening that wants to deepen that self-love and move into that space of tenderness?
Um, so I immediately this comes to mind, but I do want to say, it's taken me years and I've had all kinds of practices and I still do. I have a
Mm-hmm.
routine morning and I'm very flexible with it, but that morning time is a non-negotiable for me.
Same.
Um, and I have run the gamut from very like quote unquote strict
Mm-hmm.
meditations and practices.
Mm-hmm.
But where I have come to now, And it's going to sound really simple, and it is simple, but it's not always easy. But what I've come to is literally sitting with myself. No guided meditation, no music in the background. I will sit. I will often set a timer for myself. You don't have to, but I will find a quiet space and I will sit with myself and I just see what arises. I sense into my body. I'll notice if there's a certain sensation or a certain emotion that's arising. Sometimes it's an image, sometimes it's a scent. And then I get super curious around whatever is arising, and I will internally ask it questions. I'll ask, if I get a memory, hmm, is there something you want to share with me? And I just wait. I don't try to force anything to come to me. I just wait to see what comes.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you that I've had the most transformational experiences because what will come is a memory that then reveals a time where there was a wounding that happened that I didn't even remember,
Mm-hmm.
like something that happened decades ago. But it's still, our wounds, our bodies remember. We may not remember certain memories or certain experiences, but our bodies do.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we allow ourselves just the quiet and the time to just be with ourselves and allow whatever's going to come up and get super curious, you will be surprised at what is revealed to you. You'll be surprised at um, just certain like insights that you will glean
Mm-hmm.
that, there were things I haven't thought about in years, Sierra.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
all of a sudden it's come, and I'm like, wow. And then there's wisdom. There's such wisdom in those moments.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and at the same time, there are times I do that and nothing necessarily comes up in the space of time that I'm sitting, but later something comes up. So I think in our world where we're so busy, we're so distracted, we're constantly bombarding ourselves with, whatever it is, just the dailies of life, to have a practice where you just are sitting with yourself. And again, I say it's simple, but it's not easy because oftentimes we distract ourselves because we don't actually want to sit with ourselves and we're kind
Mm-hmm.
of fearful of what may arise.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's had different experiences in their lives. So I am well aware that that sounds terrible. That sounds like a terrible idea for a lot of people. But if you were to ask me what is the practice that has been the most transformational, it's probably the simplest thing I've ever done. It doesn't require anything but me to show up. Um, yeah.
I love
And,
that.
it requires a willingness to actually listen, like
Mm-hmm.
deep listening.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And I think too, you brought up the piece around curiosity. I know for myself that's an integral part of my process.
yeah.
Um, and honestly, it feels good to me. And I have that is how I have become self-reliant in the most divine and powerful and non-egoic way is to learn to turn back to myself.
Mhm.
And so to be curious about whatever memories or even like random thoughts that come through your head, because I think, when people are taught about sitting with yourself can be different than meditation, particularly the way meditation is often taught, where we're like supposed to clear our minds and don't think any thoughts, and if you do, just let them move through.
Mhm.
And I think from what you're saying, from what my personal practice has evolved into, is don't ignore them. Don't
Right.
try and get them to clear the field. Ask, why did you show up?
Hmm.
And maybe what the thought that came in was that you started thinking about your grocery list, or, oh, I really got to go get by the dry cleaner today and I should make an extra key for the house. And,
Hmm.
or right? Like maybe
Hmm.
it becomes you slip into this, but why?
Hmm.
But why did you slip into
Hmm.
your to-do list for the day?
Yeah,
Not necessarily trying to allow it to pass through or to force yourself to clear it, but get curious about it. I think there's self-forgiveness for people in that on a certain level, particularly I think when you're a little newer to your internal journey. Um, and also I think it deepens us in our relationship to ourself and in the way that we do have all the answers for ourselves. We do have all the guidance and solutions to things in ourselves. We just have to be curious.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Curiosity is definitely key.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
agree for sure. Tania, as we close up here, and we didn't even, I really kind of in my head thought that we were going to talk about some somatic stuff because I'm also such a proponent anymore. I was so disassociative of my emotions and my body for so long that I was like, oh, let's get into like the somatic side of things. And then we didn't do that. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna have you back,
Oh,
obviously.
absolutely. Because that is, yeah, that's become a pivotal part. I mean, we kind of touched on it
Yeah.
in that, dropping into your body and being able to be in that place, which sometimes can be scary. But
Yeah.
yeah, we'll have to have a part two.
Yay, yes, definitely, for sure. But in the meantime, I was telling you before we started recording, I love following you on Instagram. Your stuff is beautiful and it's always so meaningful and soulful and calming. So tell everyone where they can find you, where they can connect with you, learn about what you do, what you have to offer, all that.
I think the easiest place to go where you can find everything that I'm offering right now is my website. So
Okay.
it's you can go to intensespace.com. I also use my name, TaniaOrtizWelch.com. But that is where everything that's on offer now is listed.
Okay.
So
And I will put those for those listening, I will write it in the show notes. That way you can find it there. And when this is posted on social media, we can make sure that it's there also. So,
sounds great. This has been such a nice opportunity to chat with you. Thank you so
yay.
much.
Thank you so much for being here. I've loved having you and I can't wait to have you back.
That sounds great. Thank you, Sierra.
Sojourners, thank you so much for coming along on another episode and another peek at somebody else's journey that hopefully helps your own. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment on this episode. We definitely want to hear your thoughts. And until next time.